Okay, this is a first for my shop. As long as I've been working here, I have never ever had one of these in the shop. Done lots of diesels, worked on lots of diesels. Never have I had a half-ton gas truck in the shop. I think I did brake lines on one once, maybe. Can't remember. Anyway, this one has a 5.3 in it that Gary drove to grab some parts for this company and brought it back and said that the engine light is on, so it needs a new engine. So, almost 400,000 kilometers on it. It's probably been ran low on oil a couple times. It's a work truck, it's a yard truck. And there is sensors on there to tell you, hey, your oil level's low. But I think Gary's too busy checking his Pinterest stuff that it was just running low on oil. So we're gonna tear it apart anyway because I want to see what's going on. But for the sake of time and the cost of another engine, a couple grand, $2,000 I think, they got a new engine with low miles out of a scrapyard. These trucks are getting old enough now that it's quick enough. We're gonna pull this one out. We're going to just swap the engine because it's already, even if it's a lifter or something to do with the head or the variable valve timing, I think this one's got variable valve timing on it. You still got a mild out engine. Truck's in decent shape. We're gonna put some brakes on it, some tires on it, just put it right back to work again. And it'll end up being a lot quicker than if we had to get parts machined or order a bunch of stuff. So, looking forward to this one. Here we go. Look at that. You take some plastic off, and the engine is just right there. Lots of room here. Oh, it might actually be a decent day. I only spilled like a little bit of antifreeze. So basically on these, it's a ground wire here. It's a wire to the starter. Forget which side it's on. Anyway, get rid of your positive to your starter. And then this whole loom gets disconnected underneath your fuse panel. Before you disconnect your battery, just pull your fuel pump relay out, which is really easy because look, it's all labeled very nicely which fuse does what, rather than just a bunch of numbers that you have to look up in the owner's manual because my hands are already dirty. But anyway, unplug the relay and then just run it and the fuel pump won't kick on and then all the fuel pressure will be relieved in your fuel rail. Then disconnect your battery. And then this will be an individual plug on the bottom of the fuse panel. Disconnect that, you can just lay that on. Take your exhaust off. I'm gonna take the exhaust manifolds off anyway. Those will probably be the hardest work. Your torque converter bolts at the back, and your fuel lines and your power steering lines. Your air conditioning, just leave the compressor where it is so you don't have to drain the system. And that is about it. The transmission lines are attached to the oil pan, so make sure that they're disconnected. And then your bell housing bolts, and there's a couple at the very top that are a real pain to get at. So because we're not putting this engine together again anyway, I'm gonna do it a little different. I'm gonna pull the intake manifold off and probably pull the heads because I want to pull the heads anyway, and see what is actually going on in here, but that'll give me good access to that top bell housing bolt. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward engine and very, very simple. So here we go. So these wires on the injectors, just don't worry about this green clip. Just grab a pair of channel locks and squeeze them together, pull them off. Pull your coil packs off if you want. That back one's a pain to get at, so just leave it and tilt it up, and then just take off your valve cover. Oh no! Coolant everywhere. After I said nice things about you, why would you make such a... How about you pop out? How about you let go? Let it go. Now I know what you're thinking, and you're thinking, Rich, that was probably just a collapsed lifter because of that stupid VVT system. And looking at it, you'd be right. Most of the noise is coming from here. See the difference? So when your engine's running, there's a push rod here, and this push rod's going bang, 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 bang. Like that analogy, bang, bang. And you're like, well, why not just put new lifters in it or do a delete in it and keep running it. Well, you don't know Gary. Gary's kind of a jerk. I think he threw something in the cylinder here. I don't know if you can see that. Nice big scoring going on in there. She's a little low on compression, and like I said, 400,000 kilometers on a work truck. We can just slam another engine in for a couple grand, get another 4 or 5 years out of this thing, and away it goes. So that's why we're doing it. Now, if you're hearing the same noise, you can just replace your lifter. There's upgraded ones with larger holes in it, because what happens is 4 cylinders, when you hit a certain cruising speed and there's no load, it puts oil pressure to these, and I forget how it works, if it takes the oil pressure away or if it adds it. Anyway, what it does is allows the inside of the lifter to collapse so that your valve doesn't open, and then it does the same thing, something with the throttle plate at the same time to allow more air in. Anyway, it's a complicated, stupid system that when it breaks costs more than all the money you've saved in fuel. So you can replace these lifters. There's upgraded ones with bigger holes in it, and that'll be your problem, but you'll have to take the engine down almost this far anyway. Now, I verified that this is the problem. We're still gonna swap the engine because it's worn. The rest of the truck is okay. You'd be able to slap a new lifter in and get it done. If you want to do a delete on it, you have to pull the front pulley, the water pump, the front timing cover, put a new cam in it, and get new lifters for it, new trays. Or if you have a junk 5.3 kicking around, just swap all the internals on that. And then I think you have to cover these oil holes up because it's oiling something or other. Anyway, there are delete kits, complete kits. Summit sells them. You can go check that out. For now, we are going to take the torque converter bolts out and the bell housing bolts out, take the engine mounts off. We'll lift the engine out. The other engine's coming tomorrow. We're gonna do some brake work, do some tires, and generally make this a better truck than it's been for the last 100,000 kilometers. So, here we go. So the GMs have manifold problems too. Luckily they use a bigger head on these newer gens. It's 13 mil, pull those out. We'll pop a couple new bolts in there and we're good as new. Nice to do it when it's on the floor like this. We've got videos on how to do this. You can check those out, but this seems to work pretty good. Ow, right in the face. This one-handed stuff is hard. It's hard to do. So pretty straightforward, really. You do need to take the rad out, which is just 2 little bolts at the top here. Take them out and you just slide that up. 2 little clips at the bottom here. And clip those in again before I forget. Take the intake manifold off. It's very, very simple, very straightforward. Start when you're tightening it down, start in the middle, work your way out. 89 inch-pounds torque to tighten it. You will have to angle the engine in pretty well straight up and down and curl it around. No need to take this off or the bar at the top. Your AC compressor, just lift your engine out and take it off and just leave it hanging. Your power steering pump, don't disconnect any lines, just take the bolts off. There's 3 up top here, 1 around the back and 1 at the bottom, and just kind of bungee cord that out of the way. The wiring is so simple, there's nothing really to it. You got your map up top, 1 for the EGR or something back here, and then the rest is just your injectors and knock sensors at the bottom on this Gen 4. And crank sensor and the cam sensor at the front, and that's basically it. Unlike other stupid manufacturers who use the same plugs for the cam phasers and the something else, there's like 3 sensors in the front and then a whole whack of sensors, or the injectors, they all use the same plug, and you can get them all off one and then it won't run. So GM, it makes it a little easier, kind of idiot proof. You can't really plug it into the wrong spot, and It's so straightforward, very simple swap. So other than that, I think that's it. We're going to put some plugs and wires on it, the coil's back on, and I got 3 exhaust bolts to put on down below there, nuts on that exhaust manifold. I didn't take this exhaust manifold off, I just like down where it joins because they're a pain to get at. I just took the manifold off, and I did take the one on the driver's side off completely, and then you have enough to yank it out of the side and then get the mount past the exhaust manifold. You can do it however you want, but I like taking as little apart as possible. Don't forget to put your fuel pump relay back in again from draining it before, otherwise she's a no start. And we'll throw some coolant in it. I did the oil change already, and we'll be driving it in another 40 minutes or so. Here we go. One thing I forgot to mention is when you're filling your coolant up, just take it and fill it up through this hose, and you'll see it start to come up into your bottle. If you don't, the water pump has a big air bubble in it and she'll overheat. So other than that, pretty straightforward. There's an engine. Alright, first start. Here's my fuel pump. Guess my hood is not on. It's lying to me. That sounds good. A lot better than it did before. Change oil soon. I just did that, Eli. Where's airbag? Alright, I'll clear the codes and then see if any lights come on, and that should be it. Other than one friggin' exhaust bolt nut wouldn't go all the way up. It's freaking annoying. Should just on things like that. Driving up the wall. Anyway, here we go. All right, 2008 Silverado. I make these videos just to tell you my opinion. If yours differs from mine, that's fine. I'm just telling you the problems that I see with each particular model now that they've been on the road for a certain amount of time. This truck, being 9 years old already, is actually pretty decent. No real squeaks or rattles inside with 360,000 kilometers on it. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. Even though I don't like the interiors. They're plain, they're boring, they're straight lines, they're very blah, mechanical. I don't feel comfortable in this truck. It's like the new modern homes that are all painted white and square and no curves or stone. It's just a concrete wall type of thing. That's the feeling I get. This is also the generation. This would be the second generation Silverado. The first generation being my style, and the previous models, the Silverado was just a trim line, and it's actually a CK truck, K for 4-wheel, C for 2-wheel, something like that. The second generation truck would be built right after GM declared bankruptcy. I feel that they cut some corners with paint, and we've seen a lot of rust start really early, even earlier than, worse than the previous generation. Basically, it's a decent truck. It's a good work truck. They're nice and low, so they're easy to get in and out of. Easy to get stuff out of the box where you don't have to pull a stupid douchebag handle out of the tailgate and climb into the back like a donkey. Just because the truck is so high. It's stylish, it's just not practical. I forget what model that is. Anyway, it's a different truck line. I don't know. Anyway, the steering still has grease fittings, easy to work on, stuff like that. I prefer to work on these. The DOD, or the cylinder cutout, is really the main issue with the driveline on this. The lifters would collapse. Not a huge deal, but you do have to pull the heads to get them off. Nice, lots of room to work underneath the hood, but it's still a pain in the ass. It's got to be done. If I was older, and when I say older, 30 and up, and looking to buy a used truck, well, you've got your own experiences and your own life history. You can make your own educated opinion on what to buy. If I was a young person, I would say drive that piece of shit Cavalier for as long as you can until you can afford the next generations. 13s and up had a much nicer interior, much better styling, and overall I find a better truck. As for this generation, like I said, they went bankrupt.
Anyway, that's my opinion. If you disagree, well, I beg to differ. And if I forgot something, comment down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy wrenching. Here we go.
Hey, my name's Jesse. You guys are watching The Boss Garage.
If you let the smoke out, it doesn't work anymore.
Subscribe.